Hello everyone, this is your educator Priyanka Thakur. I hope you all are doing pretty well. I welcome you all on our YouTube channel Guru Mantra Shikshaka Granth. Today in this video we are going to talk about application, and this is the part first of application. Next video you will see the replication part 2. In part 1 we will be talking about basics of replication, replicon, different enzymes that are involved in the replication process. Okay, so watch this video and wait for the next one. Let's start with this one, the part 1. Okay, so what exactly is DNA replication? DNA replication is the process by which DNA makes a copy of itself during the cell division. Okay, it is an important process because a chromosomal DNA can be transmitted to the daughter cells. As you know, DNA is making a copy of itself. It doubles itself to quantify the cells splitting during the mitosis or meiosis. It doubles itself so that it can give a copy to its daughter cells. If it is not having any copy of itself, how it would be able to give a copy to the daughter cells? So it needs to make a copy of itself. That's why DNA replication is a very important process which occurs during the cell division. Cell division have two phases, interphase and M-phase. So DNA replication takes place in the interphase, S phase of the interphase. Replication is a semi-conservative process. Why this process is known as semi-conservative one? Because we know that the original DNA molecule is capable of forming two copies of itself. So each of these two copies will contain one original strand and one strand will be newly synthesized. Here is the model of replications. Models of replication. One is conservative model, other is dispersive model, and the other one is that which is semi-conservative model. So conservative model says that the parental DNA will remain conserved and a whole new DNA will be synthesized. This is what it says. Dispersive model says parental DNA will be split into fragments and each fragment will replicate and then attach to each other, ligate with each other in a random fashion, and two double helical DNAs will be formed. This is dispersive model. And semi-conservative model says that the parental DNA splits up, the both strands of DNA get separated and each act as a template, and new DNA strand is formed on that template, and thus two double helical DNA strands are formed. This is semi-conservative model. So DNA replication is semi-conservative, and I'm not saying it. It was proved by Michelson and Stahl experiment. Okay, the spin DNA in a N15 medium containing a nitrogen 15 isotopes. Okay, this is the blue one is the parental DNA, red one is the new DNA. And they did density centrifugation in cesium chloride. Fine. Then this is the parental DNA. Okay, they allow it to replicate in the medium containing nitrogen 14 isotopes. Fine. So what happened? According to conservative, if the DNA replication the conservative model of DNA replication is correct, then there might be the parental DNA which will remain conserved, and a new DNA copy will be formed. Whole new DNA copy will be formed, which must be having N14 isotopes. But nothing like this happened, and we got to know at least replication is not conservative. Okay, because we get this kind of bonds, the bands actually, we get this kind of bands. So now we get confused, either DNA replication, not B, Michelson and Stahl. Michelson and Stahl get confused, either DNA replication is semi-conservative or dispersive. So they let the DNA to grow for one more generation, and they get the results from F2 generation actually. So what happened? They didn't find this kind of band. They find a band, medium band, and one was floating above the medium band. Fine. This kind of band they get. Now they concluded that there might be semi-conservative mode of replication. You know, if there is dispersive mode of replication, the band should be like this, but they didn't get this kind of band. they get this kind of band. Fine. So this is how they concluded that the DNA replication is semi-conservative. Why here we can see these bands? Because see, these two DNAs are light DNAs. So we get a light band, and these two DNAs are intermediate. So we get a intermediate band. 50% of DNA is intermediate and 50% of DNA is light DNA. And you can grow this, you can allow this DNA to replicate in this N14 medium for as much generation as you want, but you will always get heteroduplex of only 2. You will get only 2 heteroduplex of DNA. You get it? Only 2 DNA will be of 2 different strands, and other DNA will be having the same strands. You get my point? Fine. So what is a replicon? Replicon is a unit of genome in which DNA is replicated. Actually, the replicating unit of DNA is called replicon, and each replicon must have an origin of initiation of replication. Okay? So replicon, it can be circular, it can be linear. DNA replication can proceed bidirectionally. It means it will be proceeding in both the directions, as you can see, or it may be unidirectional. Bacterial chromosome, we can say whole genome, because the whole genome of bacteria is equivalent to the one chromosome of eukaryotic cells. So whole genome has single replicon, so bacterial chromosome is monoreplonic, while the eukaryotic chromosome possesses many replicons, so it is multireplonic. Here you can see the prokaryotes have only one replon, and in eukaryotes there are multiple replons, because eukaryotic DNA is too large and we need multiple origins of replications, so that it can replicate as fast as it can. Fine. So next, what is origin of replication? It is a cis-acting sequence. You know what is a cis-acting sequence? If you don't know, then do comment in the comment box. Fine. So eukaryotic DNA possess many origin of replications, while prokaryote possess a single origin of replication, which is called ORIC. ORIC actually consists of 245 to 250 base pairs of DNA, and this ORIC has 2 short motifs. One is of 9 mers, actually 9 mers means 9 nucleotide, and another one is of 13 mers, means 13 nucleotide. So there is a protein called DNA-A which comes to the 9 mers nucleotide sequence, short motif, and get attached here. Fine. And this DNA protein actually causes melting of adenine thymine base pairs and marks the initiation of DNA replications. There will be the melting of, it means breakdown of adenine thymine base pairs. The DNA double helix will separate, and it will mark the initiation of DNA replication. This is the DNA-A protein which is binding to the 9 mers. Fine. It contains 11 5' to 3' GATC repeats that are methylated on adenine on both the strands. Okay. So here the DNA, the origin of replication, consists of 11 repeats of GATC in 5' to 3' direction, and the adenine on both the strands is methylated. DNA replication will start only in that DNA, only on that strand, only in that DNA which is fully methylated. It cannot be started in the hemimethylated DNA. Hemimethylated DNA needs to be become fully methylated in order to initiate the replication. Remember this point. What is ARS now? ORIC is the origin of replication in case of prokaryotes. But here in yeast, which is a fungus which belongs to Ascomycetes, the origin of replication is autonomously replicating sequence. Okay. So this sequence has a domain and another additional elements or additional domain, which are B1, B2 and B3. This A domain is actually a consensus sequence having 11 base pairs. Consensus sequence is the sequence which is evolutionary fixed. So A domain is a consensus sequence having 11 base pairs which are rich in adenine thymine. Out of 11 base pair, most of the base pair will be of adenine and thymine. So exactly what happens, some ARS binding factor 1 autonomously replicating sequence binding factor 1 comes and bind to the B3 domain, okay, but induce the melting in the B2 domain. And now what is the function of A domain and B1 domain? A domain and B1 domain binds to the origin recognition complex, which is a complex of 6 polypeptides. Origin recognition complex. So B3, it is binding to a ABF ARS binding factor 1 and causing the melting of B2 domain. A domain and B1 domain are binding to the origin of ORC, origin recognition complex. Now this origin recognition complex will bind to a CDC protein in the G1 phase of cell cycle. Some CDC6 protein bind to this origin recognition complex. This CDC protein consists of ATPase activity. So this CDC protein recruit MCM, mini chromosome maintenance proteins. What is the function of this mini chromosome maintenance protein? They function as helicase which unwind the DNA, and hence next primer will be recruited and DNA polymerase will elongate the strand. Fine. So B3 will bind to the ABF ARS binding factor 1. It will cause the melting of B2. A domain and B1 domain will bind to the origin recognition complex. In G1 phase, some CDC protein also bound to the origin recognition complex. It recruits the mini chromosomal maintenance proteins which act as helicase and cause the unwinding of the DNA. CDC protein is degraded after the initiation of replication. Why? So that it could not reinitiate the replication. Fine. Okay. So replication, you will find some common feature in all origin of replications, and one of these is replication origin contain short repeated sequences. Yes, in ORIC you actually saw the short motifs like 9 mers and 13 mers. In case of ARS2, there is a consensus sequence in A domain having 11 repeats, which is also a short motif. Okay, so replication origin contain a short repeated sequence. These sequences are recognized by some multimeric origin binding proteins. These proteins helps in assembling the enzymes which are responsible for the DNA replication, such as DNA polymerase, helicase, and etc. These origin of replication are usually adenine thymine rich. The origin of replication will have more adenine thymine bases, so less energy is required to break these bonds. We know that there are three hydrogen bond in between guanine and cytosine, while there are only 2 hydrogen bond in between adenine and thymine. So it is easier to break the bond in between adenine and thymine as compared to guanine and cytosine. Hence, in most of the origin of replication, we can see more and more adenine thymine bases. Now let's start with the prokaryotic replication. What kind of enzymes are involved in the prokaryotic replications? In initiation there will be DNA A, there will be single stranded binding proteins, DNA B, which is also known as helicase. Here will be DNA C, okay, DNA G, which is primase. Okay, primosome complex is formed by the helicase and primase enzymes. In elongation, DNA polymerase is the main enzyme responsible for replication as well as elongation. Single stranded binding protein will be playing their role for elongation. Topoisomerases will be doing their own function, and DNA ligase is used for ligating the two strands. Fine. In relieving supercoils, DNA gyrase play its role. Topoisomerase type 2 topoisomerases are 2 types. Type 1 topoisomerases, type 2 topoisomerases. Type 2 topoisomerases are actually known as DNA gyrases. In termination, terminus binding protein TOS and DNA polymerase 4 will do its role. Fine. So let's start with DNA A. It binds to the 9 9 nucleotide, you know that. It melts the DNA by breaking the adenine thymine bases and results in the opening of DNA double helix. I know you get it because I already told you this. Fine. What is the function of DNA B now? DNA B is a helicase enzyme. You don't need to worry. If you are not understanding what I'm trying to tell you, you will see a diagram in the last. In the end of the video, I will be showing you a diagram, a picture. You can clarify all your doubts from that diagram. So DNA B, also known as helicase enzyme, what does it do? It opens the duplex of replication fork. It is not relieving the supercoils. It is opening the duplex of the replication fork to provide a single stranded template. It is actually breaking the hydrogen bond between the two strands so that they will get separated and each strand will act as a template. The action of helicase require ATP and it causes unwinding usually in the 5' to 3' direction. DNA-G is known as primase enzyme. It synthesizes a short RNA primer. RNA primer is required. There won't be any DNA a copy if the RNA primer is not there. Fine. So DNA-G is an important enzyme, also known as primase enzyme. It synthesizes the short RNA primer required for the DNA chain elongation. What is the function of single stranded protein? Like if two of your friends are fighting, they are having a fight, you will come and will try to get them back on their positions and will stop them from having a fight. So here again a single stranded binding protein will also be working like this, but here the strands are not fighting, they love each other so much that they don't want to get separated. So single stranded binding protein will ask them to remain separated. Okay, it will bind to each of the strand and will keep the particular strand in its place so that each strand will act as an template. See, during DNA replication, single-stranded binding protein molecule bind to the newly separated individual DNA strands, keeping the strands separated by holding them in place so that each strand can serve as a template for new DNA synthesis. I hope you understand the function of single-stranded binding proteins now. Now here come the topoisomerases. The break the phosphodiester bond, their action is reversible, but okay, you can break the phosphodiester bond with the help of topoisomerase, but once the topoisomerase is removed, there will be the formation of phosphodiester bond again. So their function is reversible. There are following types. Remember, helicase enzyme break the hydrogen bond while topoisomerases are responsible for breaking the phosphodiester bond. Type 1 topoisomerases, they produce a single strand break. They can remove only one supercoil. There are further of two types. Type 1 that form a covalent intermediate with 5' end of DNA, and type 1b that form covalent intermediate with a 3' end of DNA. Remember, type 1 topoisomerase A will be forming a covalent intermediate with 5' end of DNA, and type 1b will be forming covalent intermediate with a 3' end of DNA. These enzymes catalyze reaction like relaxation, okay, negative supercoiled DNA, catenation, you know, when carbon, when one element keep forming a bond with itself, like atom, carbon will form carbon, carbohydrates you must have studied about, hai na? So carbon is forming carbon, hydrogen chain. This property is called catenation. So type 1 isomerases can cause catenation, decatenation, knotting and unknotting as well. There is another class of topoisomerases which is type 2 topoisomerases. Now they produce a double strand break. They can remove two supercoils at one time. They are also called DNA gyrase. DNA gyrase is exactly type 2 topoisomerase. The breaking of, they require energy for breaking the phosphodiester bond. Gyrase A cut and rejoin DNA, while gyrase B provide energy by ATP hydrolysis. It means gyrase A, you can call it type 2A topoisomerase, and gyrase B, you can call it type 2B topoisomerase. So gyrase A will cut and rejoin the DNA, while gyrase B will provide energy for the same. The enzymes, they can be inhibited by quinolone antibiotics. You remember, type 2 topoisomerases gyrase A and gyrase B can be inhibited by quinolone antibiotics such as nalgesic acid and their derivatives like norfloxacin and ciprofloxacin, which bind to gyrase A. These norfloxacin and ciprofloxacin will bind to the gyrase A protein, while novoiosine inhibit gyrase B. If gyrase A will get inhibited, it won't be able to cut and rejoin the DNA. If gyrase B will be inhibited, gyrase A again will not be able to perform its function because it will not get enough energy to do its function. So it also catalyzes the same reactions like relaxation, supercoiling, catenation, decatenation, and even knotting and unknotting. So these topoisomerases can change the linking number of DNA. If you haven't study about linking number, if you don't know about linking number, there is full playlist of my lectures, so you can watch this video which I have posted before this video, this one. Okay, you will got to know about linking number as well. So topoisomerases can relieve the supercoils, so they will definitely be able to change the linking number of DNA. Type 1 A can change the linking number by 1, but while type 1b can change the linking number by any integer, and both type 2a and type 2b are able to change a linking number only by 2. Next come the DNA polymerase enzyme, which is the main enzyme responsible for DNA replication. So you got to know DNA polymerase is the main enzyme responsible for DNA replication. There are two types of DNA polymerase. One is DNA dependent DNA polymerase, another one is RNA dependent DNA polymerase. It means DNA dependent DNA polymerase makes a copy of DNA by using DNA as a template, while RNA dependent DNA polymerase makes a copy of DNA but by using RNA as a template. Now you know DNA, the formation of RNA from DNA is called transcription. So formation of DNA from RNA will be reverse transcription. So RNA dependent DNA polymerases are actually reverse transcriptases. There are 5 different polymerases in E. coli, which are DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We will see about, we will study about these now. See, DNA polymerase 1 have 1 subunit, 2 also have 1 subunit, while DNA polymerase 3 has 10 subunit. There might be one subunit in DNA polymerase of 4, and this one is 5, not 6. Sorry for it. Okay, 4 and 5. There must be one. I'm not sure about it because it might be 1. Okay, so 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity, which is seen only in the DNA polymerase and none other DNA polymerase. Only DNA 1 polymerase, DNA polymerase 1 possesses this 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity. Due to this activity, DNA polymerase is not that it is actually prone to, it is not susceptible for mistakes during replication. It do less mistakes as compared to all these DNA. Okay, in fact, it doesn't do any mistake. So it has the exonuclease activity of 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity, and it is the only DNA having 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity. And DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3 possess 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. Again, DNA polymerase 4 and 5 will have no 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. But among all these DNAs, the processivity of DNA polymerase is the highest. You should say that DNA polymerase is the best enzyme for application. It should be, because it is prone to mistakes. But DNA polymerase has more processivity. It will be able to replicate more number of nucleotide as compared to all other DNAs. So the processivity is low in all these DNAs, and it is high, quite high in DNA polymerase 3. So it is the main replicating enzyme. DNA polymerase 1, it can repair DNA and can remove the primer. DNA polymerase 2, it can repair DNA. DNA polymerase 3, 4 and 5 are not having any of the exonuclease activity, so they will be very poor DNAs. Like it is DNA polymerase 4, also known as DNB. They, what does they do? They actually replicate a damaged DNA because they do not know what is right and what is wrong. They are not having any 5 prime to 3 prime or 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. So they do translation synthesis, which means translation synthesis means they will synthesize, they will replicate the damaged DNA. DNA polymerase 4, you also know that it will be involved in DNA termination of DNA replication as well. Finally, this is our DNA polymerase 3, the most important enzyme responsible for the DNA replication. You will see 10 subunit in this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Ma'am, please tell the name: beta, alpha, theta, epsilon, tau, gamma, delta, delta dash, chi and chi. Chi, no, not chi, it's chi. Fine. This beta dimer, the dimer of this beta subunit will form the clamp. The polymerase without clamp is written as like this. Okay. The core polymerase, which is actually having the catalytic activity, which is actually responsible for the synthesis of the DNA, is formed by epsilon, theta and alpha. Alpha, theta, epsilon. Epsilon, theta, alpha. So, come on, revise it with me. Say it with me. Alpha, theta, epsilon. Alpha, theta, epsilon. The core polymerase is alpha, theta, epsilon. Beta subunit form the clamp. Then these 5 subunits: gamma, delta, chi, delta dash. These form the gamma complex, which actually act as clamp loader. What is the function of this gamma complex? It acts as clamp loader. Alpha subunit has 5 prime to 3 prime polymerase activity, while epsilon has 3 prime to 5 prime exonuclease activity. Now you know that DNA polymerase 3 does not have any 5 prime to 3 prime exonuclease activity, and theta, it enhances the proofreading, and gamma complex act as the clamp loader. Revise it again and again and again. Okay, so here is your final structure. Here you will got to know what enzyme is doing what function. See, this DNA is coiled. Topoisomerase is relieving the coiling of the DNA. Helicase is removing the hydrogen bonding in between the 2 strands. Now single-stranded proteins are holding these strands so that they can act as a template for the synthesis of new DNA. But for the synthesis of new DNA, you must need a DNA primase. So DNA primase will recruit an RNA primer. And after RNA primer, DNA polymerase will be functioning. DNA polymerase will be elongating the DNA. Okay, and then there will be a leading strand and lagging strand. Lagging strand will have discontinuous formation of DNA. So DNA ligase will be binding the whole DNA, and in the mechanism of replication you will get to know why these Okazaki fragments are formed. This DNA polymerase, you can see P alpha, this is not actually these are eukaryotic polymerases. Fine. DNA polymerase 1, 2, 3, 4 are the prokaryotic one. So you now know the function of topoisomerase. What is the function of helicase? The single stranded binding protein, the primase, the DNA polymerase, the DNA ligase, and the termination TOS will be terminating the replication. This is all for today. Wait for the next video and subscribe to our channel. Do join our channel on Telegram. Follow us on join us on Facebook, visit our website, and contact us on this number. Okay, more than that, you just need to take care of yourself.